It began in a quiet suburb outside Denver in 1999. A young woman was found dead in her apartment, strangled, with no signs of forced entry. No fingerprints, no DNA match, just a single strand of hair and a partial shoe print left in the carpet. Detectives called it a crime of precision, the kind of killing that didn't happen by accident. And then a year later, it happened again. Different city, different victim, same signature. The press called him the ghost. The FBI called him Case 409A. He would go on to kill at least 11 people across 5 states, without leaving a single usable lead. The victims had no clear connection. A teacher in Utah, a nurse in Oregon, a waitress in Arizona, all women, all killed in their homes. Each scene told the same story. No forced entry, no robbery, no sexual assault. Just silence and then death. For investigators, it made no sense. He didn't fit the profile of a sadist or a thief. He was methodical, patient, invisible, and for nearly 20 years, he stayed that way. In 2002, the FBI formed a task force. They brought in behavioral analysts, forensic psychologists, data scientists, anyone who could find a pattern. But the killer seemed to anticipate every move. He changed his methods just enough to throw them off. One victim was strangled, another poisoned, one pushed down a flight of stairs. The only constant was the aftermath. A clean scene, a missing photograph from each victim's home. He always took one picture, usually of the victim smiling. By 2008, the case had gone cold. The files gathered dust in federal archives. The task force disbanded, but one agent refused to let it go. Her name was Ellen Briggs, a profiler known for her obsession with detail. She'd spent her career studying killers who lived double lives. To her, the ghost wasn't random. He was deliberate, and he was still out there. So she started over. She digitized the evidence, cross-referenced travel records, credit card purchases, even weather patterns. She spent nights replaying crime scene photos, looking for something everyone else had missed. Then she noticed it. In the background of a victim's vacation picture, taken a year before her death, was a man, out of focus, walking behind her near a gas station. At first it seemed meaningless. But when Ellen looked through photos from other victims' lives, weddings, graduation, social media posts, he was there too. Always in the background. Always near the edges of the frame. Sometimes in a baseball cap. Sometimes in sunglasses. Sometimes just a shadow caught in reflection. She ran facial recognition scans. Nothing. Whoever he was, he didn't exist in any database. Then came a break. In 2016, a 911 call came in from rural Montana. A woman reported a prowler outside her house, a man watching her through the window. When police arrived, he was gone. But they found something strange in the snow. A small metal button engraved with the letters FED. The local sheriff sent it to the FBI lab. Ellen recognized it immediately. The same button had been missing from the jacket of the killer's first victim. After 17 years, the ghost had resurfaced. The Bureau flooded the area with agents, drones, thermal scanners, unmarked cars. For the first time in decades, they were close. They found the prowler's tracks leading into the woods, and a small cabin hidden half a mile off a forest road. Inside, photographs, hundreds of them, every victim, every scene, meticulously organized in labeled boxes. And in the center of the room, a corkboard filled with maps, news clippings, and one chilling note. They stopped looking. I didn't stop killing. But the cabin was empty. The ghost was gone again. The woods were empty when agents arrived. Snow had covered the tracks within hours, and the cabin gave them nothing but proof that their killer was real and still out there. Inside the boxes, they found a pattern even the Bureau had missed. Each photograph had a number written in the corner. The numbers matched highway exits across the western United States. When they mapped them, the pins formed a line that followed a single trucking route. Denver to Portland. Ellen Briggs stared at the map for hours before it hit her. He wasn't just traveling randomly. He was a truck driver. They began cross-referencing long-haul routes, delivery schedules, and timestamps from every murder. Out of hundreds of drivers, one name surfaced again and again. Thomas Hale. He'd worked for 3 different freight companies over 20 years. He'd logged routes through every city where a victim had lived. And each time a murder occurred, his truck's GPS had gone dark for roughly 6 hours. No criminal record. No arrests. A spotless employee file. But when agents pulled his employment photo, Ellen's hands went cold. It was the man from the background of the pictures. They tracked him to a rest stop outside Spokane, Washington. Ellen insisted on being there when they took him down. At dawn, as the light cut across the asphalt, agents surrounded his truck. He stepped out slowly, coffee in hand, eyes calm, like he'd been expecting them. Inside the cab, they found gloves, ropes, a camera, and dozens of small photo prints clipped to the dashboard. Each one showed a victim smiling. When they asked why he kept the photos, Hale only said, "Because no one remembers them like I do." The interrogation lasted days. Hale spoke with unsettling clarity, describing each murder as if he were recounting weather reports. He claimed he never picked victims, that they just appeared along his routes, waitresses, receptionists, travelers. He remembered their faces, their apartments, their perfumes. And then he smiled and said, "You never noticed me because I did my job." Forensic teams linked him to the cabin by DNA on a coffee cup. In total, they confirmed 12 murders. Privately, the Bureau believes there were more. When the press learned the truth, the story dominated headlines. For 20 years, Thomas Hale had lived a double life, a dependable trucker by day, an invisible predator by night. He'd crossed state lines hundreds of times, always leaving behind just enough distance to stay ahead of suspicion. At his trial, Hale showed no remorse. When asked why he stopped after the Montana incident, he replied, "I didn't stop. He just finally caught up." He was sentenced to 12 consecutive life terms without parole. No one from his family came to court. Ellen Briggs retired soon after. In her office, she kept one photograph from the cabin. The first victim, smiling on a summer afternoon. On the back, Hale had written, "She looked at me first." The FBI closed the file in 2020. Case 409A, the ghost. But every few months, a letter still arrives at Quantico. No return address, just a line of handwriting, neat and deliberate. "There are more.